He has an advantage.
Although they're not Brian Kibler signs, which is always too bad.
That card went very quickly to my most signed card ever because everyone wants 4 of them signed.
I think there was like an auction online that ended for
I saw that.
Tons and tons of money of 4 Brian Kibler signed Squadron Hawks. Couldn't believe it. You actually just have...
I should just buy Squadron Hawks and sign them.
I was going to say.
I would feel like such a horrible shill.
Makes so much money. All right, looks like Squadron Hawk number 2 or number 3 comes down for Chris, but he leaves up 2 mana, potentially to Mana Leak. Preordained from Joseph Anderson. Preordained resolves. And draws him a Secret Ghost.
So, looks like Joseph has an Emiria Angel and a Into the Royal in his hand that I could identify, along with those Hawks. Chris, I can't really see. Chris's whole deck is very shiny. Look, it's a shiny Glacial Fortress, I think.
Yeah, I think it's foil Unhinged Plains. Are all of his cards foil? I'm not sure. Chris is not normally one, I thought, to play a lot of shiny cards, so up in the ante this week, giving Squadron Hawks one last cara, as you said.
I was actually just totally stole that from Jerry.
Oh, really? Fair enough. Looks like Chris drew Gideon there. Joseph is going to block with 1 Hawk, trade out those Hawks, and while they're pecking away slightly at Joseph's...
And Gideon.
Life total.
Gideon Jura.
He's a good man. A good Gideon is hard to find.
Is it a foil Gideon? Because those are kind of hard to find.
that
a regular Gideon, still pretty good, but...
Okay, there's an Oblivion Ring from Joseph Anderson. That'll take that Gideon out of the battlefield.
Oh, he does not have another land. So, we talked before about just how important it is to hit your land drops in the Caw-Blade deck. How many lands is Joseph playing? He has 12, 16, 20, 26, it looks like.
27 for Chris VanMeter, so...
It's actually, there are a non-trivial number of players who have suggested that the correct number of land to play, at least after Cyberdyne Caw-Blade, is 28.
Yeah, I mean, you just have so many things you can do. You can play Inkmoth Nexus, Tectonic Edge, Celestial Colonnade. You want to hit all your drops. You want to get 6 drops.
The land in Caw-Blade, this is actually something that's going to be very interesting once Worldwake rotates out. Not Caw-Blade, because that'll be gone too, but people have sort of crept up their land counts very significantly, based on just how many utility lands there are. We have Tectonic Edge, we have creature lands, and even as you're saying, the addition of Inkmoth Nexus in a lot of these builds, and you get so much value to having extra land, and it makes a deck that is mana hungry, that much more viable because you can play a ton of land and still get value out of them. After Worldwake rotates, we're gonna have lost Tectonic Edge and all of the creature lands.
Right.
So a deck that wants to get to 6 casting cost spells, wants to get to whatever sort of big stuff, they're gonna have a lot less use for that excess mana.
Chris plays second Hawk there, pass back to Joseph. Yeah, I actually feel like Zendikar has made a lot of players' decks way better. I don't think players play enough lands in general. I think often they play way too few lands, and so these extra lands have given them an excuse they don't even realize to play more lands. After it rotates out, I'm almost concerned players are just going to start getting mana screwed way more often because they're not playing enough lands. Although we have seen a couple spicy lands in Innistrad.
Yeah, there's some neat ones.
Play.
The return of Ghost Quarter.
Ghost
and
Quarter.
There's the Kessel Wolf run.
Yeah, that whole cycle seems awesome. The second
put a counter on all a guys.
Yeah, that's the one I want to
play
with.
Gross.
And also the one that makes 1/1 spirits seems pretty neat.
What's
too.
that? I haven't seen that one.
It's very cool cards in Innistrad. Go and pre-order them right now. I think those lands are going to see a lot of play with the land spots vacant. Tax for 2. So all the Squadron Hawks are going to trade off here. I think that's all the Hawks for both players.
If only one of those players could put +1/+1 counters on all those creatures.
I know, right? Now, Chris, we know, has Consecrated Sphinx in his hand, though, because it was Into the Roiled earlier.
Yes.
So he's going to be maneuvering to play that one.
And Emiria Angel for Joseph. It looks like it's resolving. Or no.
Thinking about it.
We have a response. This is sort of interesting. Joseph not playing his land to try and get the extra value from his Emiria Angel, but that opens him to being able to mana leak. He only left 2 mana open.
Now, I think the only reason you do that if you're Joseph is if you're okay with that Angel getting mana leaked, because I would not.
Right, but the question is how are you really that okay with it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't think you're going to tap out for Mana Leak anyway because Chris has Consecrated Sphinx.
Right.
And so, I mean,
I guess you're looking at Joseph's hand. He has a Sun Titan in his hand, so he's probably trying to set up a turn where he can Sun Titan and still have Mana Leak open for Chris's Consecrated Sphinx.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the Sphinx is kind of the ultimate Titan in this matchup. Like, drawing all those cards is so hard to beat. Granted, Sun Titan is pretty good, but I think I'd rather have a Sphinx most of the time. Chris is going to play a Tapped Colonnade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if he has a land next turn, he'll be able to play that Sphinx and also pay for Mana Leak.
So this is the long version of Caw-Blade versus Caw-Blade.
It's really, I think Caw-Blade is a very interesting deck because it can play out in so many different ways. You can play the really quick aggro game. You can also play the trade off all your Hawks.
That looks like a Jace from Chris VanMeter.
Oh, that is huge. Yeah, Jace Balerion, when you can protect it, is a big deal. Now, granted, Joseph does have that Inkmoth Nexus.
I believe there's a Tectonic Edge on Chris's side of the board. I thought I saw one.
Oh, I think it is all above that plains. The shininess makes it a little hard to see, but...
So he's Mana Leaking.
All right, gonna Mana Leak down that Jace. I think if you're Chris, you just pay here.
I think you leave him Basic Island and Tectonic Edge.
Yep. All right, yep, he just pays. And it happens. Chris is gonna draw a card off that Jace.
Yep. So now Joseph is in sort of an interesting spot.
That's another Tectonic Edge, I think, for Chris VanMeter.
I'm curious about that Mana Leak. Curious what his plan was. It looks like he's trying to resolve a Sun Titan this turn.
All right, well, there's the Sun Titan, leaving 2 up.
I think he's trying to determine if he can Mana Leak and not get Mana Leak back. I mean, I don't think you really have too much of an option here. I think you have the Mana Leak. I think you just need to play the Mana Leak.
You don't really have a choice.
Like, no, it resolves. Wow.
Does Chris just not have the Mana Leak?
I thought I saw a Mana Leak.
I know he's got
maybe it was a mental misstep that I saw that I thought was a Mana Leak. No, that's a Mana Leak, isn't it? I can't tell.
If that is a Mana Leak, I'm very surprised.
I'm very curious.
Especially because that means he could just resolve his Sphinx too. I mean,
right.
Although I guess he can resolve it regardless, but.
Do you cast Sphinx and +1 here, or you just want to find an answer to that Titan, or do you?
I mean, if the best thing you can return is Squatter Hawk, I'm really not concerned about the Titan that much.
Right, the Titan is not all that scary.
I mean, yeah, you might take a couple
at least
hits,
just yet. I mean, it gets to kill Jace at least, but if you have a Consecrated Sphinx in play, that doesn't matter too much.
Yep, and there's the Sphinx. Resolves.
This is an interesting spot. This is whether is he on +1? So yeah, this is an interesting spot that a lot of players sort of automatically make the play that Chris made here. They plus their Jace because it gets them 2 extra cards, but it's also giving their opponent a card that can potentially give them a way to answer their Sphinx that they didn't have before. It's a very difficult decision that is very contextual to what's going on in the game right now, because while this does get Chris more cards right now, it's only giving him a card up on Joseph,
right?
Compared to just using his Jace as -1, which also gives him the same one card up. So it's not actually gaining him cards in any way. So as time is winding down in this round, the players have a 4-minute extension from a ruling earlier in the match. So if you guys do hear the time called over the announcements, don't get too worried.
Looks like Joseph is holding Dismember, Mana Leak, and a 3rd mystery card. Can't quite make out what that one is.
So Dismember can...
So Joseph attacks and rebuys that Hawk.
Chris has 100 cards in his hand.
Yeah, and normally, I mean, you can maybe go on to some kind of tectonic edge plan and start edging down Chris's lands, but when you have active, Sphinx, it's really not going to get you that far ahead. So he just brings back another Hawk. All right. Oh, Dismember on the Titan. Now, if Chris goes to block, Joseph has his own Dismember, and that would get rid of the Consecrated Sphinx.
And
all right, he blocks. There's the Dismember.
Dismember's right back.
Now, Chris has got an awful lot of value from that Consecrated Sphinx.
But it's dead.
But it is dead. He will stop getting the value ends here.
So now, Chris has just drawn about 100 cards right there, but it looks like that's a Day of Judgment in his hand.
It is.
So I'm guessing that's getting cast.
I would guess something very similar.
I don't really know much, but I do know that you generally want to kill when all your opponent's creatures when they have a Titan and more in play.
So Jace draws a card first, or Chris draws a card off his Jace first, just in case. But
Jace is the one drawing a card. He's a Planeswalker too. I wonder how many Planeswalker points Jace has.
So many.
Seems like he's got to have a lot.
So many matches. I guess does Jace count as Jace the Mind Sculptor also?
I mean, he doesn't get to have 2 DCI numbers.
That's true, Ratings Fraud. So I mean, Jace has won Worlds so many times.
Yeah.
Like, he's in a pretty good spot. All right, there's that Preordain from Chris. So wipes his opponent's board, casts a Preordain. He's got a bunch of Tectonic Edges to deal with Joseph's man lands too. And
so here we settle into the draw go portion of the game, where the player who has Jace Beleren is substantially advantaged. We saw the players exchange haymakers a moment ago, but we're back to the marginal value of baby Jace taking the game over.
All right, now attack with Colonnade, and that's going to eat a Tectonic Edge. Yep, and Chris edges it down. Just plays a second edge. So now,
here's where Chris is mostly worried about losing to the clock. He's dealt with his opponent's Sun Titan. He has, and we look at his pace of play is increasing pretty substantially.
There's a Mirror Angel.
And that's a card that can do exactly that. Win the game.
All right, there's the Angel. Joseph thinking, but guessing not going to do too much. All right, plays land, gets a bird. Oblivion Ring. I was going to give back that Gideon, too. This could be a brutal turn. All right, so he's
using Tectonic Edge on Tectonic Edge, I think.
Yep, Tech Edge or Tech Edge.
That's kind of interesting. He's trying to defend his creature lands, perhaps, and hoping that Chris just taps it for mana, because if he uses the Tectonic Edge in response, he actually doesn't have the mana to pay for a mana leak.
All right, and so he does Tectonic Edge that Inkmoth Nexus.
And gets mana leaked.
All right. Oh, Chris is going to mana leak back, looks like.
Yeah.
Gets another bird token.
And then he has Gideon Jura on his board.
Absolutely dominating position for Chris VanMeter. All right. Chase, Gideon, a Mirror Angel, 2 birds.
It looked like Joseph had a Day of Judgment of his own in his hand, so I don't think the bird squad is long for this world, but Gideon can just ignore that.
Gideon is good at that. All right, yep, so he does day, and the birds go away. All right, so it's turn 0 right now. But I don't...
It's turn 1, I believe. I believe it's turn 0 on Joseph's
turn 0 on Joseph's turn, turn 1 on Chris's turn. But Chris has 3 attack steps to finish this off.
And he has a Gideon, and it looks like a Colonnade down at the bottom there.
Yeah, he does have a Colonnade. Yeah, granted, Joseph does have a Tectonic Edge.
And Joseph has no cards, so... Gideon alone can end this game very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Joseph does have that Colonnade to block and potentially buy a turn. So, I mean, maybe Joseph can play for the draw if he draws correctly, but Joseph is in a really good spot. All right, activate Colonnade, Tech Edge the Colonnade, Drops him down to 5 life. And he'll pass over to turn 2.
Just for you. Just for you. You got a whole team here. Love it. Just for you.
And taps 2, and there's Azure Mage. Interesting.
Okay.
Mana leaks the Azure Mage, forcing Joseph to tap some mana.
So Dismember takes it out, and there it is.
Yeah, that's that. So Chris VanMeter advances to 2-0 here in Atlanta.
So a good start, but still a long road to go. 8
Yes.
more rounds. We have a 10-round tournament here, and that's not even counting the top 8.
Nope, and yeah, we play all 10 rounds today.